You know, I've been through many different kinds of media, whether it was aimed for younger viewers or straight up towards adults. For whatever that matter is, it doesn't bother me at all. As long as I find them entertaining throughout and I'm willing to give my thoughts on it clearly, that's fine. Even though what I'm about to go over and deliver my thoughts to may seem awkward. I bring this matter up because I feel I have to confess to it sooner or later, and it'd be worse if I was caught in the middle of it than confessing to it now. And rest assure you, it isn't easy. Getting straight to the chase, I've been curiously watching a series that's been spread all over the web entitled My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, and I liked it.
My little pony, my little pony.
It's hard to admit. Even to my awareness of whatever targeting it is, it feels pretty humiliating to admit liking a show like this. I mean, I hope I'm not taken the wrong way by my taste. I play adult video games on my Xbox 360 occasionally, I enjoy violent movies occasionally, and I listen to heavy metal, old or new, occasionally. Or so whereabouts. On top of that, I'm 22 fucking years old. So for a show that's aimed for 5-year-old girls, how the hell did I get an entertaining 20 or so minutes out of every episode, you may ask? Well, within this special occasion, I decided to spend some time to review it in the hopes that it's legitimate enough. I'll first go over my discovery of it a few months back, which was behind a fan-made trailer I stumbled upon from dorkly.com that carried the sound clip of StarCraft 2 while using footages from the cartoon. It was entitled Ponycraft 2 by username Stubbornly Obsolete. After watching it, I was laughing my ass off at the mixing of its cuteness and epicness. It was so ridiculously funny to the point that I favored it up to now. I didn't think too much of the cartoon itself though, but I did stumble through some pretty large compliments to the series, even for other males. I was quite surprised really, so I was convinced enough to watch it myself. But I'm still keeping my distance before jumping too far ahead. So I started watching the series available on YouTube at a late hour every night. Thankfully I wasn't caught. Not yet, I hope. Anyway, the series takes place in a fantasy world called Equestria, which is populated by fantasy creatures, but horses for the most part while being named as abstract fetishes. Some are unicorns, some are Pegasuses, and others are ordinary ponies. Our main protagonist is a unicorn named Twilight Sparkles, and the first episode is a two-parter pilot of her trying to prevent an unfortunate prophecy to the beloved Princess Celestria, who's the sibling of Nightmare Moon as they once controlled night and day together. To Nightmare's evil schemes, she is then imprisoned for a millennium before being unleashed again. And I honestly think Nightmare Moon looks pretty badass. But since a few days are close to the 1000th year for her, Twilight tries to warn Celestria, but the only thing she gets in return is a favor in socializing in Ponyville. It's not very long before Nightmare arrives and brings chaos to the village. So now it's up to Twilight and her new companions to stop her madness as she plans to, you guessed it, conquer the world.
Of course!
As I watched the series, this warm, fuzzy feeling came and it sank into my stomach from the start as it grew very quickly. And before I knew it, that meant I was actually enjoying the series, and I was on the next episode after another like a drug addict. The rest of the episodes are of one character's life obstacles after another, though having very familiar scripts. This then leads to various morals about taking responsibilities and not shoved down your throat like what most educational shows did. They range from the basics such as knowing that friendship is important, learn to share, be a helpful source, and mind your manners. But there are also much more deep life hacks given later on than what I expected. There are even episodes that counteract with what to do when it comes to growing up, like finding and setting your future by cutie marks, which, though spoiling this series, actually symbolizes your career goals by the culture of Equestria. I'm not kidding, this actually involves grown-up lessons. The characters in general are quite engaging by their simple personalities in support of the series. They may seem one-dimensional at first, but they really aren't. They actually make me care for them. Twilight in general is very likable. She's kind of our guide through the series as we see her interactions with the following, as well as a pet dragon Spike. One is Fluttershy, who actually keeps a lookout to the critters, and by her obvious name, she's the shyest of the group. Rarity is a lady-mannered artistic fashionist who enjoys designing clothes, but to a sympathetic extent, and not being a judgmental snobfest like I see in most cartoons with fashionist preteens. A western horse named Applejack is by far my favorite character. Though she does swing ropes and perform rodeo stunts like most typical western portrays, she actually displays a lot of sportsmanship, loyalty, independence, and overall has a strong heart to others' needs. Rainbow Dash is a tomboyish Pegasus who loves showing off her flying stunts, displaying cool factor. She's also another favorite character of mine as well because of how adventurous she is. Okay, so who did I miss? Oh yes, that pink horse. Out of her hyperactivity, Pinkie Pie is annoying. but she nevertheless carries the needed substance to support every episode, and at times she can be lovably annoying from some of the silliest moments in the series, which is very rare for me to say. She enjoys cooking and partying, and I swear to God, she has practically no taste buds. There was an episode where she gladly ate a muffin mixed with potato chips, soda, and earthworms, which made other ponies sick. Ugh. So to sum everything else up, it is very beautiful to watch. Of course it's a fantasy and it's aimed at little girls, but it works. Also, coming from someone whose experience that is aiming into graphic design, I can tell this was animated in Adobe Flash. I can see all the separate tweening and skewing, and all the various layers piece by piece. It's done smoothly and delicately, and it overall fits the style of its content. The show also features some musical pieces that I find, most of them admittedly catchy for non-Disney musicals. Except for Pinky's. As usual, I find her annoying. But aside from that, and to sum it all up, this series is pleasantly well paced, it's cleverly written, and overall, it's a pretty fun series. Good God, I can't believe I actually said that. But I hope that actually explains why I like this series. If not, then suffice it to say, it's a guilty pleasure at the very least. However, it actually has gained a cult following at DeviantArt.com by a spread of different fanart submissions spread throughout. And you know, this comes to a simple life lesson in this video, and it's that you should not only never judge a book by its cover, but also learn to face it in order to acknowledge that concept even further. I'd say it's a lesson I've learned over and over again, but I was told that to learn is to relearn. So I feel uncomfortable saying this, but god damn it, I like this series. Now, since this is only Season 1, I don't plan on giving it a rating. Probably not for a while. You never know what the next results will be for Season 2, which I actually am looking forward to. So, if you have nothing else to do, and you dare yourself to watch the show and give it a shot, I'd say definitely check it out under my risky recommendation. But until next time, this is GoldenFox. Take care. Let me first say I do not intend to review every single episode of Season 2, but I will check every now and then as I deliver my thoughts to DA. Also, before diving in, let me offer a friendly warning that this is a massive spoiler video. It's recommended that you watch the first episode before proceeding. So without further delays, these are my first impressions of the starting of Season 2 of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Return to Harmony. Our story in this two-parter is about a new and even more convincing villain named Discord, voiced respectively by John Delancey. I hope I'm saying that right. As he threatens Equestria and eternal chaos. Princess Celestia assigns the main 6 ponies to gain the elements of harmony to defeat him, but unfortunately they're stolen, and, truth be told, they were tricked into being in a labyrinth where they scatter and search. Little do they suspect, the place was a trap for them to be separated, and to each of Twilight's friends, they are hypnotized and corrupted into acting completely different from what they originally were. Applejack is forced to lie, Pinkie Pie rejects laughter, thinking she's being ridiculed, Rarity is stuck under an illusion where she thinks she's carrying a giant diamond when really it's a giant boulder, Fluttershy gets forced to be a ruthless, cruel bitch, and poor Rainbow Dash gets torn between the loyalty of her friends and her home city, and thus betraying them, so to speak. So Twilight must struggle through all the mishaps of her friend's cruelty towards her, while Ponyville is all messed up. Clouds are of cotton candy, Jay shifts the night abruptly, floors are either tiles or roads of soap, and some of the landscapes are ridiculously flipping upside down, literally. I'm going to be honest with you and say that I did not expect a cliffhanger like this to be this twisted. This two-parter was dark, and it left a raw bitterness in me from what I saw at the end of Part 1. Mind control, character betrayal, and more unexpectedly bizarre moments were thrown back and forth. And even worse, it was only a week away telling how this situation was going to be concluded. Oh, how torturous of you, Hasbro. I was pretty much hung over this entertainment-wise, given how much fun I had with Season 1. To come across something this twisted had to be a big concern. And there was even more intense insomberness going on throughout the second half because of how corrupted the ponies were painfully affecting Twilight's relationship, and her will to gain the elements of harmony. There even came a moment where Twilight gave in and thus corrupting herself in the process, until Celestia gave back all the reports on friendship to Twilight, though agonizing and aching spike to the stomach. Poor little guy. Discord was awesome, no doubt about it. He pretty much reminded me of the Joker from The Dark Knight and Ka the Snake from The Jungle Book. He's a villain who enjoys the sadistic and twisted being in him and also enjoys the theatrical. The other is given all the hypnotic techniques he has, and so on and so forth. I would say he practically makes Nightmare Moon look tame in comparison, but the one exception in which Discord lacks when compared to is that he doesn't have much of a backstory or motivation as to why he's who he is. It's not much of a problem as far as villains go, but for characters who have a reason for who they are the ones that make me sympathize with the most. I had a lot of feelings for Princess Luna and why she was transformed into Nightmare Moon. I don't have the same thing for Discord here. But regardless of the comparison, he was still a fun and hateful villain. I also have to touch upon the humor. This had some of the most random humor you can imagine. Rarity's boulder was named Tom, and, well, when being turned back, she never wanted to talk about it again. And I don't blame her. Spike asks about Rainbow Dash at one point because of her absence, so Twilight makes her the Rainbow Dash. Oh, Spike, how I envy you. I wish I was the Rainbow Dash. Endless references were made throughout as well, which I don't care much for, one of which was a Chocolate Rain reference. Literally. Ha ha. Now, the biggest complaint I have with this entirely is that I found the third act to be rather anticlimactic. Even though the second half was an emotional roller coaster, literally with Rainbow Dash, there was no fight between the ponies in Discord. They arrive, Discord tastes the rainbow, and is turned back to stone, the end, Star Wars reference. Given that there's a 22-minute limit mark, they could have at least saved that ending for the battle itself, and condensed the scenes where Twilight's friends were being restored. This could have been given enough time to conclude this part better. But on the bright side, it was nice to see the Harmony powers give out an additional sonic rain boom. So that concludes my feelings on Return to Harmony, and I hope that the rest of Season 2 becomes just as entertaining as Season 1. Now again, I don't plan to do this again unless it's really important. Briefly, I want to spend the time to thank Equestria Daily on behalf of sharing the episodes to us, as some like me do not have cables in their bedroom. It was a privilege that I would never dare to reject. I would also like to thank the Brony Show for its countdown as I was preparing to see this episode so eagerly. Unfortunately, when watching it live stream, I had lag and connection problems, and those obnoxious and time-consuming pre-roll ads didn't make any matters any better. I had to watch it twice to pick up what I missed. For future reference, take my advice and don't go to the trouble of watching it at first hand. It's not worth it. So I look forward to the next episode, which airs, the 15th of October? Are you shitting me? Hasbro, you cock tease. Wait, what's this? Woo! We get to see an episode about Luna. 22nd. Oh, you mother.
It's pretty rare that a character with such little screen time and dialogue can appeal to all, and make a big difference in some way, shape, or form. Princess Luna couldn't be any more remotely definitive here, as she only had one line and a few shots in one episode. Ever since we first saw her and how adorably apologetic she was, every pony's been wanting to know when we get to know this character more. She was a mysterious and yet overwhelming pony to all of us that easily drew our interest from the start. Many online artists have assembled their own enormous stack of fan art of her on DA, as well as many fan fictions and webcomics to only presuming how she would turn out. When an episode of Princess Luna was finally announced, every pony was happily dancing for the anticipation and excitement of her arrival. The wait has finally ended, and we now get to see her true self in this episode, Luna Eclipsed. So Twilight Sparkle and Spike are dressed up in costumes set for Ponyville's yearly festival known as Nightmare Night, which easily represents their Halloween holiday celebration in their universe. Princess Luna makes her arrival, but has a hard time in socializing and fitting in with the other ponies due to her unintentionally aggressive first appearances. Let's never forget to mention the past. She doesn't understand the current culture or the ways of communicating, so Twilight insists on helping her by learning and understanding fun and friendship. Unfortunately, Pinkie Pie, dressed as a chicken, don't ask, she's just being Pinkie Pie, and a few of the others carry their own gossip up their sleeves, which doesn't help Luna's interactive problems at all at first, until it's all come to realize that scares are meant to be fun, which also touches upon the purpose of Halloween, or the holiday at least. Immediately getting straight to the character herself, many of us were expecting Luna to come off as a quieter and more resentful personality like Fluttershy, only filled with regrets given all the trouble she's caused in the past. Needless to say, it was quite surprising at the true results in this episode. But even though my expectations, as well as most bronies, were widely different, the portrayal of Princess Luna here was as great as it could get. She was much more flamboyant and troublesome in a way. She carries the right attitude, similarly to Nightmare Moon, but still has that motivation in wanting to gain the respect of Ponyville, as we can imagine to some degree. I also found it hilarious and clever as to how she communicates, using that Shakespearean accent while using that traditional royal voice where she screams at the top of her lungs to her faithful subjects. Not only was this hilarious, but it makes a legitimate amount of sense considering how isolated she was from society for 1,000 years on the moon, and how she's theoretically active at night. I say theoretically because I wouldn't want to assume so. Her new sleeker design, though depriving some of the fans, is no exception as well. I really love how the animators made her hair more transparent like Celestia's rainbow mane. This very well matches with her sisterhood. Her darker tones also kind of work, and it kind of hints us that she's aged a little more. Never thought that Alencords would age that fast, but I can only guess. The inclusion of Sakura was a fun idea. Her suit was pretty badass, and her storytelling methods were no exception. Nice to see her after, 2 episodes and that's it? Also, her supposed magic in support of her narration just comes to show that even Earth ponies can pull past their limits of just being an Earth pony. Now, many viewers have complained about the absence of Rarity and that she was meant to be in the script before taken out, according to what Lauren Faust said on DeviantArt. At first, I didn't care, but when thinking about it now, it would have been nice to see her supposed outfit, especially considering that she's a professional fashion designer. This episode is 21 minutes long, whereas on average, it's 22. It wouldn't hurt to fit an extra minute for her, guys. The new baby pony Pipsqueak was adorable, though I don't have anything else to say about him except to spark up and give the childish feel of the episode. This brings me to the next thing I want to mention, in which no one else seems to go over. The way this episode's slanted shots, dark tones, and slapstick and goofball humor was executed, the atmosphere here was amazing, giving you that cold, spooky, yet fun feel of the Halloween charm. You could say that any cartoon could have played that holiday theme, but in my opinion, they don't pull it off as well. This episode played this theme out very well, without forcefully doing so, and it actually works for Luna's first appearances. When this episode ended, I felt very relieved and smiled. It was a long wait, but to the results in mind, it was very well worth it to all the fans of the show. Not to mention, this was more lighthearted than the previous three. That's not saying anything bad, but it's nice to see the other side of the spectrum. And damn it, I wish I could go trick-or-treating now. But I'm too old for that. At least I can drink. But nevertheless, this has become one of my favorite episodes of Season 2, and I hope to see Luna more. But until next time, take care.
Rarity was often regarded as the least favorite amongst anyone's list of the cartoon. It wasn't for me like Pinkie Pie was, but she admittedly didn't stand out to me as much either like Twilight, Applejack, and Dash did. However, things have massively changed for her since the continuation of Season 2, particularly Sisterhood Social and a few others. Prior to that, she has practically improved her traits as well, such as her admission to being a total drama queen as a running gag, and her exaggerating angered voice. I wasn't too surprised at that, however, because she did have similar humor moments, such as Season 1 with the definition of whining in front of the Diamond Dogs, and many one-liners that managed to gain the internet memes naturally. What makes Rarity an authentic character is just by being who she is, and as it simply shows, every pony's understanding her more. And she is being the character every pony should know in this special episode, Sweet and Elite. Rarity has been given a luxurious stay in Canterlot for a few days, as she plans to assemble a dress for Twilight as a gift for her birthday. At first she's given down talk by a few Canterlot citizens as a class-level prejudice, and it greatly upsets her. Eventually things quickly change as she gets caught up by Fancy Pants, one of the most popular gentle cults in the city, and gains a massive amount of attention which easily enlightens her days. Sadly, she gets pressured between her friends in Ponyville and her dreams of living in Canterlot. So she begins to lie to every pony to hide her true self, and unintentionally make matters worse by having her friends brought to the gala ballroom as a garden party is being held outside. Here we get a lot of misstaffed fire switcheroos until the moment of confessions begin to strike. At first I thought this was a lesson of never lying to others, and I thought this would have cost the love of her friends. I was skeptical about the outcome at the end too, because I thought her lies managed to benefit her instead of punishing her. But then thinking twice, when she told the truth at the end, she said it in a way in which she had to face the truth to others regardless of her popularity. Fancy Pants was also a very fair character in which he didn't so much as judge any class level at all, and has in fact asked Twilight about the dress by curiosity. This especially helped Rarity out of the predicament she was in. Now that's what I call a gentle cult, not this asshole. Speaking of which, I was quite amazed that several background ponies from Season 1 made brief appearances like Sapphire Shores, Hoity Toity, Prince Douchebag, and Lady Gaga. Shit, sorry, I meant photo finish. So it was nice to see the main six to get their party in the ballroom and have their own fun. In a way, it makes up for the troubles they had at the gala in the Season 1 finale, and it felt great. Rarity's attempt to trade back and forth was pretty hilarious and clever at best. I felt a lot of pressure on her as she wore herself out, switching places to another. At the same time, I found it hilarious when she was unaware of the croquet mallet in her mouth, and had no explanation for it afterwards.
What's with the croquet mallet?
What croquet mallet?
Duh, the one in your mouth? Oh, that croquet mallet!
So while it didn't jump to me as hard at first, it grew on me over time. But what really sunk into my heart was Rarity's musical number, Becoming Popular, the pony every pony should know. I heard the song at first and it was quite catchy, but since work has been working me to death, I didn't have the luxury to hear it more often until now. And when listening to it more and more, I'm not afraid to say this is one of the best songs I've heard from the show so far since Winter Wrap-Up. It's so catchy and uplifting to the point of shedding tears of joy. While it does portray a message of showing off and being popular, it simultaneously shows the overall feelings to Rarity's dream. Ever since her appearance in the series, she's always dreamed of living in Canterlot. Coming this far, it feels very achieving. Now, coming from somebody who enjoys Metallica, Bullet, Iron Maiden, Van Halen, Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, and so on, I feel that's quite saying a lot. But then again, I naturally have an open mind in music in general, so I wouldn't go as far as to call myself a metalhead, but you'll hopefully catch my drift. I had fun watching this episode. It took some time to digest, but it was a very special one. The humor is easily no exception, especially Pinkie Pie's party cannon and Twilight's dress, which, even to me, it looks cute on her. But the importance is that it lightens the motivation of Rarity, and she's developing pretty well in this season. I also like how this episode dives back to the prejudiced themes like bridal gossip, but to the more political routes by the level of standards. So since Rarity's been taken care of most, I hope to see more of the other characters achieve their goals. As of now, Sweet and Elite is one of my favorite episodes. So until next time, take care, bronies. Applejack has been one of my favorite characters because despite being a Western stereotype, she has many aspects I can relate to. She has a self-reliable and independent attitude, and it was demonstrated really well in Applebuck season, and the other being stubborn and uptight in her pride. In personal cases, I can relate to her. Also, while many others consider AJ to be a Southern stereotype, I actually enjoy her Southern accent and personality. I don't know, I sometimes have a thing with those kinds of people, regardless of me being a Californian. It's been a long time since Applejack had her very own episode, and, well, I'm still waiting for a Fluttershy episode.
You serious?
But anyway, I was very glad that she got her very own episode she deserved recently called The Last Roundup. The episode begins with the surprising appearance of Derpy Hooves, an ongoing background character who's made out of a simple animation error. Having dialogue and front stage moments, all the bronies utterly exploded with excitement around the world according to the livestream chat box. Hey, I never saw that coming either. Getting back to the plot, Applejack leaves Ponyville to compete in a big contest and promising a big prize with a good enough fortune to fix the town square as it's heavily damaged. Of course, the mayor easily comes off as a blunt and typical politician demanding money. Unfortunately, she never returns, and the main six search to find Applejack and see why she hasn't returned. After being found, however, in a small western village, they only discover that Applejack's hiding her reasons. The ponies do whatever they can to get her to talk, even to extreme measures of spilling the beans, but Applejack still hides it. You can pretty much guess what happens at the very end. I'll get back to that in a bit. One of the things I loved about this episode was the humor, and despite the huge attention of Derpy, some pony else also managed to steal the show. Pinkie Pie. Holy crap, was she hilarious. Both baby cakes in this one really upped her humor. And her humor was great as it was, despite my first thoughts last year. She was so funny when she ran her mouth off about a cherry pastry she likes to call either a chimichurri or a cherry chunga. After being used as a torture device also from Rainbow Dash, I couldn't help but laugh. Again, I didn't see it coming. And if that wasn't enough, her reactions to a broken Pinkie promise was even more convincing, especially given that she spoke as a demonic voice. Watching it alone will speak for itself. The second thing I loved about this episode is also what I loved about the more recent episodes in general. The expressions are much more livelier than ever. This isn't the first time it's mentioned though, but damn, I love the way how each of the ponies are much more expressive from the simplicity to the complexity. I also love how some of the heads are angled, especially Rainbow Dash. Thirdly, getting back to the ending of the episode as well as its moral. As I said before, I can relate to Applejack to some levels, and her truth is one of the more relatable topics. Her reason is very convincing and kind of scary for the position she's in. The real reason why she kept herself away, pardon me for spoilers, was because she didn't win the first prize nor any cash in return. Not the slightest bit did she have the guts to return either, and I can only understand why. Broken promises and failed attempts are one of those keys that hurt, and this episode proves it really well. In general, revealing secrets is a big risk. Given that I've had many secrets kept to myself, I know how Applejack feels. The only downside to this episode was the ending with Rarity and Pinkie Pie. As admittedly funny as it was, they were left behind at the end of the episode. Why? What exactly did Rarity do to deserve such torture like that? And why would she take this all out on Rainbow Dash? Granted, the ongoing chimichurri and cherry chunga was still funny, but I felt skeptical about that. Hopefully a later episode should be able to cover that up. This episode was overall a treat to all the bronies out there, especially given that Derpy got some screen time and is now canoned. Hopefully she'll get an episode of her very own. Oh man, do I love this show. The only possibility is if we see one with Octavia or DJ Pawn 3. Yeah, she was mentioned before. Maybe she'll have red eyes after all, I don't know. Until then, we'll just have to wait and see. So to all you bronies out there, take care. I'm going to start off by saying that I've been picked on in school a lot when I was a teenager. My years in high school and junior high were a nightmare as far as ridicule goes. A lot of us, if not all of us, have been made fun of sometime in our lives. Some have taken it and others have moved on, but others have had it even harder. And for the ones that have taken it this far, it does cause a later impact in their lives. And even worse, they're aware of it. Poor Fluttershy has been left out in the majority of Season 2, and to wait for her spotlight was a bit of a chore. But in the end, it was damn worth it because her episode, Hurricane Fluttershy, easily dives into this matter as this is her motive. After watching it, it's easy for me to say that it's one of the most emotionally well-driven episodes I've ever seen.
I just wish that there was more episodes of Fluttershy in the second season. In the beginning of this episode, I got a good laugh when I saw Fluttershy as a tree. She did say she wanted to be a tree in the first season. Of course, she was just trying to hide from Rainbow Dash.
We start off with the gathering of all the Pegasi in Ponyville led by Rainbow Dash, prepping to stir up a hurricane to gather as much water supply for Cloudsdale in order to continue the weather for Equestria. Fluttershy is involved, but is still compelled to attend due to her unfortunate ridiculing experience in her fillyhood. While attending with other Pegasi, her past trauma haunts her so much that it weakens her flight power, which is needed for the hurricane, but she does whatever she can to overcome it. This episode did a really good job in making me sympathize with Fluttershy. The moment she burst into tears in front of Dash and her overall fear was so heart-wrenching.
Fluttershy, wait! So some punks poked a little fun at you when you got stage fright. Big deal! You aren't gonna go quit just because of that, are you? Yes! But I need you!
I'm sorry, Rainbow Dash. I just don't have the courage right now.
Where's the tissue box when you need one? While Fluttershy may have dealt with assertiveness and conquering fears, facing the past was a different approach. Her backstory, while sounding weak at first, is a really good motive. It actually shows what makes Fluttershy who she is. The fact that ridicule is what caused such trauma and how it affects her from her fillyhood is a good demonstration of how people take it effectively in reality. As I said, some people think it's nothing, but others take it pretty hard. Admittedly, I did at some point, so I knew exactly how Fluttershy felt.
Now, I don't like it when Fluttershy cries, and I'm sure most Fluttershy fans don't either. She's supposed to be happy, not sad. I did like the scene where all the animals gather around Fluttershy to comfort her, because it reminded me of a scene from Disney's Snow White. I was also surprised to see that Angel was being sweet to Fluttershy, because he's usually mean to her. It was also cute that the animals were helping her train and helping her get over her past fear.
Rainbow Dash was also a lot more supportive in this episode. Lately, the writers have been treating her pretty wrongly and just making her very cocky and arrogant, with very little likability. Here, Dash did show some arrogance, but she controlled it a lot more, and at most, felt concerned a lot more for Fluttershy. Add to this, she wanted to break the wing power record to impress the leader of the Wonderbolts, but she didn't let it get to her when it couldn't happen, so she knew what was most important. In short, she had more sportsmanship and fairness to others. Dash was supposed to be known for loyalty, and she had it the most in this episode. I normally don't go over the producer names of the show, but here, I really have to give credit where credit is due. While Daniel Ingram covers the musical numbers, William Anderson does the orchestrated background music. The music he composed in this episode was fresh and captivating, from the scene when Dash was testing her wing power to Fluttershy's emotional breakdown, to a montage guitar solo for Fluttershy. Oh man, do I love this show! I want taps for that! Also, Cindy Morrow did a great job writing this one. After watching her episodes like Sister Who's Social and Read It and Weep, she can really dive into personal subjects and strengthen the show's morals. She, Megan McCarthy, and M.A. Larson are my favorite writers so far.
Well, I did enjoy this episode. It had a great moral lesson, many emotions, but also humor. It was nice to see Fluttershy have another episode, but I think she could have had more than one in Season 2. That's just my opinion, though.
While the plot was formulated, predictable, and overstuffed with sports cliches, every piece worked. It was worth it. This episode had me rooting for Fluttershy to the very end and caring for her while surpassing her haunted past. I know I love all the characters, but this is a great step in developing Fluttershy in such a way.
I also love the humor in this episode, especially the ongoing joke with the muscular Pegasus that appears out of nowhere. Hooray for steroid jokes! But as of now, I think the creators are doing so well even without Lauren Faust. But until next time, take care, bronies.
It's hard to believe that Season 2 has already ended. It felt like yesterday when it first started. But whenever something comes to an end, there should be a good way to end it. Anticipating to the Season 2 finale of Friendship is Magic was both exciting but underwhelming to me simultaneously. From what I expected, it was about a wedding that had an alicorn who I barely knew over the past several months. That and Twilight had a brother. At the same time, the ads made it look silly, which didn't help at all either. What I didn't expect was what the quality of this finale was under-advertised as. I'm not kidding. Let me put it this way. When I anticipate to something, I hope for the better. But when something this epic, something exuberant, or something incredibly big comes when you least expect it, it's a real treat and a compliment for both the viewers and producers alike. With little expectations, this finale surprisingly blew me away.
You took the words straight out of my mouth. Not only was this finale spectacular, but it included one of the best narratives out of the series so far. Unlike the Return of Harmony storyline, I feel like A Canterlot Wedding did a much better job as far as pacing goes. It actually felt like I was watching a movie with this finale.
Twilight and her friends are invited to a big wedding being held for Twilight's brother's shining armor, in which they must improvise ordered by Celestia. Upon hearing so, Twilight's upset that she wasn't notified by him in advance, but when arriving at Canterlot, it turns out he's been kept so busy having the entire city shielded for threatening reasons.
It still isn't as bad as airport security.
When discussing more with Shining Armor, Twilight's told that he'll be marrying Princess Cadance, who once happily full-sitted her when she was very young. Though Twilight was excited to meet her at first, Cadance doesn't appear the same way she's remembered. Throughout Part 1, Cadance grudges behind the backs of Twilight's friends as she witnesses it all until discovering the worst. During rehearsal, Twilight gets scolded for calling Cadance evil for all the things she's done.
She even gets talked down to by Princess Celestia herself. The face that Twilight makes after she walks by made my heart drop, especially with that organ playing in the background.
And when you at least expect it, Cadance traps Twilight in a crystal cavern, held as prison as she's later revealed as an imposter. Here we see the scheme of Part 2. The imposter is disguised by a leader of a race called Changelings, who disguise themselves to feed upon love, and they plan to take over Canterlot to gain more power. The show never mentions her name, but she's revealed as Queen Chrysalis. What makes this so unexpected is that I presumed it would be an episode where Twilight and her friends would attend, but stir up a set of clones to help with their duties, but only lead to disaster and goofy chaos like The Best Night Ever, similarly like The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. But unlike what I was expecting, it turns out to be an epic story like a Disney movie from the age of Renaissance. Things get dramatic, suspenseful, it still keeps the charm of the show's humor, and not to mention, very, very action-packed.
No kidding. The fight scenes during the second half are very reminiscent of the fight scenes from the Powerpuff Girls, which makes a lot of sense. I feel like they were trying to pay tribute to that series during that scene.
Even from someone like me who's not too fond of the Powerpuff Girls, I think it's still saying a lot when it comes to the brawling sequence and outsmarting each of the pony's replicas. Also, party cannon for the win.
By the way, I don't think I was the only one who was excited when we saw Princess Celestia actually stand up to the villain in this episode. Her dialogue and the way she locked horns with Queen Chrysalis was, in my opinion, one of the most epic scenes produced by the show.
Within these new characters added to the finale, it's as good as it can get. It's strange at first because we know little of them, but they each fit their roles as importantly to the story overall, while keeping those from the show in need, whether it was little screen time or not.
To be completely honest, I was really worried about how they were going to introduce Shining Armor, as a lot of people were. Introducing a character that we've never heard of throughout the entire season during the finale, and he's related to one of the main six? I don't know how they pulled it off so smoothly, but it seems like they did. Maybe the song helped.
Getting back to Queen Chrysalis, this is one of the most unexpected twisted beings I have ever seen in cartoons. Unlike Nightmare Moon in Discord, this bitch is nasty. She's partly portrayed as a dictator, but at the same time a bit of a cannibal by emotions. She resembles both Ursula from The Little Mermaid and the Witch from Oz. This is a villain who enjoys being a villain, and with those punctured hooves, dark hair, and evil green eyes, she and her minions look incredibly badass. The real Princess Cadance makes her reveal in the second half, but even with that little screen time she's given, what she provides makes us care for her. Her plans for her wedding, but to only be trapped in a crystal cave, can be explanatory alone. Not to mention, Britt McKillop did a fantastic job on the voice work. This finale features a few songs, and each of them are very well written.
Big Best Friend Forever was cute. It shows some backstory on Twilight's brother and her distant connections with him, and I think this was a perfect route to go since we never knew Twilight's brother to begin with. Love is in Bloom, played at the end of the episode, was enjoyable, and even though it doesn't achieve much, it's still an impact by the joyful atmosphere and fun as it's shown.
I feel like I'm in the minority here, but I absolutely loved Love is in Bloom. Out of all the songs, I feel like that one really topped off the finale and really made it feel like the ending of a movie. I really loved the piano intro and the chorus of the song.
Oh, I loved how all the ponies were dancing and seeing photos of them taken. It really makes you feel like you're there. Not to mention we got to see Vinyl Scratch again. But of course, one of the most favored, including myself, is This Day area. Here we see Britt McKillop do an amazing job with her singing voice, as she tones from good to evil as we're switched between her character and Chrysalis, making it sound very evil.
Being the first villain song we've received from the show, unless you count the Flim Flam Brothers, This Day aria has already inspired many great remixes within the community, including renditions that sound like boss themes for video games. If this is the way the community reacts to a villain song, then I can't wait to see if we get one in Season 3.
Now, if there's any gripe that I have, Princess Luna was in this episode, but she was played through such a small role that it felt like she was just placed there for the sake of fan service. She wasn't active throughout the second half, and on top of that, when she made her return, she asked if she missed anything. I know that she's supposed to be the princess of the night, and she would probably be asleep throughout the day, but even if that, she would have heard the cries for help.
I bet she was off playing games on Steam.
If she was more active, such as trying to help Celestia or the main six or just something, then it would have been interesting instead of just leaving her out. But on the bright side, the show's at least aware that she's still there. Hopefully we'll get to see her more in the future. In the end, I felt very satisfied. It was a great way to end Season 2 with a bang. It was one hell of a finale. Hopefully Season 3 will be just as good and perhaps include more character interactions as well as the new ones. Just my theory though. I don't expect too much, but since there's still a lot of potential to the quality of the show, who knows? Season 2 overall was excellent, and I thought it was better than Season 1.
I concur. Even though Season 1 brought us an unexpectedly excellent show, Season 2 showed us just how good it can be even with high expectations. The amount of effort put into the writing, the animation, and the songs all show just how dedicated the staff is to making something fun and entertaining. The fact that they even acknowledge us and actually put in bits of fan service is something we should all be very grateful for. This finale was so good, it felt like a love letter from the staff to us viewers. Season 2 may be over, but Season 3 is just over the horizon, and I look forward to continuing being a part of this community and sharing my thoughts on the show. Until next time, I'm Paleo,
And this is GoldenFox.
and thank you for watching.
Take care, bronies.